All right, welcome KIF Radio, sound curator with Imanzi, and we have a beautiful guest with us today, beautiful singer based out of Toronto, and that I met a couple of years ago, and I didn't know that you were singing until I saw you perform at your place. Ariel Sim, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for stopping by here. We are inside the beautiful Annex Hotel, one of the beautiful rooms that they let us have for you to have a little conversation with us.
Yes.
We're going to talk about your music. We're going to talk about your upbringing into this beautiful space that you're creating at your home with those live shows. So first, tell us a little bit about you. First Ariel Sim, is it like an artist name or is it your real name?
Both. So I took the bold choice of using my real name as my artist name too. So yeah, some people think it's a made up name. A lot of the time I introduce myself as Ariel Sim and they're like, oh, cool artist name. And I'm like, no, it's just my name.
You're going to be an artist. That's what it means.
There you go. I was actually named after this folk singer's wife. My parents are Canadian. My dad grew up in the country, cowboy. He's a great musician. He actually taught me music. And they love Stan Rogers, who's this like Canadian country folk artist. And his wife's name is Ariel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was meant to be.
I guess so.
So your father is into music, so I guess he's the one who introduced you to music, or did you get into it by yourself?
Yeah, I just grew up around music. Both of my parents are jazz musicians. That's how they met. They met, I think, at a Halloween party, and then they ended up...
Oh, wow. The story is amazing.
It is a good story, but we'll save that for another time. But my mom's a flautist, and my dad's a saxophone player. And the way they really got to know each other is they played in a jazz ensemble for years. And so when we came around, like, music was always a part of life. My dad was a professional jazz musician for a while, and then he kind of bailed when he had a family and, found other means, but kind of raised us as a family band. It was his dream that we'd have
No way.
Yeah. And so I came back to music a bit later in life, and it feels so exciting because my dad always had this dream that we'd have a family band, an album, and so Spirits, which came out last year, has my dad, my mom, my sister, my brother on it.
Yeah. Full circle.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So they must be very excited that you're actually pursuing this now.
It is. Yeah, they are. And it's always been, I tell people, like families all communicate in different ways. And I think my family always communicated through music, no matter what's going on, whether things are good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. You can always come back to music and have a jam session and, find joy in life that way. So that's been really consistent throughout life, and I'm grateful for that, for sure.
So you're not just a vocalist. You play different instruments, I'm guessing?
I do.
Including?
I started on piano very young, 4-year-old piano, and I still pluck at it. Y'all can see on my IG and stuff, I pluck at it.
You can play. We can play like you play. So for me, you play in the piano.
She's being humble.
I pluck at it. From there, I went into fiddle. I'm Celtic Scottish too, and so I grew up inside of the Celtic Scottish tradition. So I picked up the fiddle, and then I moved into jazz trombone when I was in middle school, and that became my instrument. They gave it to me because I have really long arms.
Okay.
And so I was the only kid that could reach to sixth position. And so I became a jazz trombone player for almost 10 years. And I love that instrument. I quit for a very vain reason, which is I have very sensitive skin, and so every time I play it leaves that that big circle on your mouth. And I was like, that's not a cute look. I was going into university, and I was like, this isn't cute. So I kind of abandoned it, and I kind of regret it sometimes because I loved that instrument. Isaac tells me I sing like a trombone, like a brass instrument, which I think is probably kind of...
Your voice is kind of soft, but I guess, I don't know, is it the power that you... I don't know.
He says it's got a brassy sound, and I think that might be right.
Okay. Those producers, they can hear sound that we cannot hear, I guess, But that's amazing. So I will say multi-instrumentalist,
And then in university, I went into percussion. I was studying West African dance and percussion. So I got to learn the djembe and the jill and the whole drum families.
And that's one thing about you too. I think people might not know, and that's how I knew you first. Is as a dancer.
Yeah.
And so, like, dancing is part of you as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Is this something that you pushed at some point in your life, or it just came to you?
Yeah. I mean, I started dancing the same time I started playing music, 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so both of them have been in my life my whole life. When I was studying West African percussion in university, one of the masters I was working with had a really great perspective on it, and they said that music and dance are one side of the same coin. And so you're not really a complete artist unless you can do both, right? Wow. And you don't have to be a master at both, but like if you're playing a drum line, you should know the dance line that accompanies it, right? Because especially in traditional music culture, every percussion line has a dance move associated with it, right? It's a communication, it's a language. And so if you only know one side of the language, you're not really complete, you know?
I feel you, yes.
And so, yeah, but when I first moved to Toronto, I don't know why, but I'd walked away from music. I just wasn't singing, I wasn't playing.
So hold on, you moved from where?
I was in France right before Toronto, and before France, I was living in Arizona for about a decade.
Okay.
And before that, Florida for a while. Like, I'm kind of from all over,
Because you also have some attach with Africa, no? And Côte d'Ivoire, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so my in-laws, through my sister's marriage, are from Côte d'Ivoire, from Abidjan. And my university research was in the Senegal River Basin, and my music studies were in Ghana. So there's this great jill master named Bernard Woma, who runs the Dagra Center. Rest in power, he's passed away since, but my professor was under his tutelage, and so we went and we studied for a while in Ghana. And that same year, my sister had started dating her now husband, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go visit them in Côte d'Ivoire, check out this situation. And so I went, and they joke about it to this day that I'm like the ambassador between our families, because they weren't even engaged yet, you know what I mean? It was like an early relationship. But I went to Abidjan, and I met their family and ended up on La Rue Princesse, and, you know, catching a vibe. And since then, I've been back several times. They're married now. I think they've been married for like 12 years. We're old.
Okay.
But yeah, the traditional music's so beautiful, and having studied it in university, like, their family have griots, right? And so to then go really live the tradition the way it's supposed to be, I think is a really special experience.
I can feel no more. After all the touching, you seem to close the door.